Sounds good to me.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark Hanna and I'm the publisher of the Rio Grande Guardian, and today we're having an exciting conversation with Raudel Garza, the Economic Development Corporation of Harlingen CEO and President. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So we are in a unique facility, and this facility is very cool, just from walking into it. You have a lot of universities headquartered here, or not headquartered here, but officed out of here.
Right.
And the name of the building is?
The University Center. Actually, it's the University Articulation Center. So
very, very cool. So what is the concept or the idea behind a building like this?
Well, this idea actually was generated several years ago. A lot of people in Harlingen wanted to have access to higher education opportunities that they didn't have at that time. TSTC has two-year programs, two-year degrees, but beyond the associate's level, there really wasn't anything in Harlingen. So the city of Harlingen, along with a lot of other people, got talking with TSTC, and the idea was that we would build a building that could house some other universities that people could basically go beyond their associate's degree at TSTC and continue their education right here in Harlingen. And so at that time, the University of Texas, Pan American, UT Brownsville, Texas A&M Kingsville, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the University of Houston, and a lot of other ones, including Our Lady of the Lake that is now in La Feria, they all started giving classes out here beyond the first 2 years. So it was really programs that were designed to educate people in the Harlingen area and get them beyond the 2-year associate's degree that TSTC could offer.
Yeah.
The way it was funded was really $2 million grant from EDA, but the rest of the funding, about $5 million, came from Harlingen Economic Development Corporation and the city of Harlingen.
So, and everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment on the live stream. We'll do our best to facilitate those questions. But this is really a conversation about economic development, specifically happening in Harlingen. And,
Sure.
When you walk into this building, you think, wow, what a great way for a municipality to invest, right? And what better way to develop economic development long-term through education?
Through education. We understand that in order to attract companies, you have to have the right workforce.
Yeah.
And the skilled workforce is necessary to have a successful business. So having our offices at TSTC's campus and alongside the continuing education department and right across the street from the provost's office made a lot of sense for us.
Yeah.
So for us, it's a great way when a prospect comes into our office to sit down with them. Yes, we talk about land, we talk about incentives, but really we talk about the human capital that's necessary for them to be successful and how they have access to that capital right here.
And, outside of Harlingen, when you think about it like that, there is a workforce shortage all over the valley, right? And so if the city of Harlingen says, hey, we're going to figure out how to develop this workforce, you're going to have outside people from other cities coming into this area. So that's the best way, to develop a city, right? Brings people from the outside in,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
New spending dollars, and we're going to get into that when we start talking about sales tax, which is, a big success happening here in Harlingen. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about you, your history and how you got here. This isn't your first rodeo when it comes to economic development. You have an extensive history. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here.
Well, I'm a Valley native. I grew up in FAR, graduated from PSA back in 1983.
The Bears, the original
the
Bears.
Went to the University of Texas at Austin and got my degree in economics. Started working for Conoco for about 5 years and got moved around the country during those 5 years. And back in 1993, I went back, came back home, and actually ran the FAR Economic Development Corporation for about 3.5 years.
For your hometown?
For my hometown. After that, I was doing some consulting work for a little bit and then got hired to run Mission Economic Development Authority back for about 5 years. After that 5-year stint, got pulled into the private sector, and I did a lot of real estate development under NAI Ryoko Realty. Did some brokerage, that type of thing. Started my own company also for a little while. Did great until basically the recession came into play, and everybody that was doing any kind of real estate suffered a little bit.
Yeah.
But then we started going back into what I love to do, which is serving my community and getting back to creating jobs for the community. And I got into Rio South Texas Economic Council for about 2 years. Then Bill Martin, who was here before I was, left about 6 years ago. And that left a void here, and I just kind of felt that this was a good fit for me and a good fit for Harlingen. And so came into Harlingen and have been here almost 6 years now.
And Rio South Texas Economic Council, that opportunity there, what kinds of things did you learn there that you bring to the table here? I mean, because the scope of your work is much bigger, right? Here it's much more focused.
Right.
What things did you bring to the table?
When you work for a regional economic development group, you understand that there's a lot of different agendas, a lot of different perspectives, if you will, from the different communities that you serve.
Yeah.
And you start understanding, I think, a little bit better what the needs are of the valley versus the needs of a particular community. And when you're talking to the larger companies, they're not looking at city limit lines. They're looking at the valley as a whole.
Yeah.
And so I think that gave me a real good perspective on how we sell Harlingen, but you sell it at a regional scope, if you will.
Yeah.
Because, for example, we did a survey several years ago about from the different industrial groups and different companies that we have here in our industrial parks as to where their workers were from. And kind of surprisingly, or maybe it wasn't surprisingly, but most of the employees that are working in Harlingen facilities aren't from Harlingen. They're from surrounding communities. 30 to 40% of the workforce is from the city itself, from Harlingen, but the other 60 to 70% are from outside the area.
That's a large percentage.
Some as far away as, Mission and McAllen. So there is a draw, if you will, for employers to be able to draw from 45 minutes.
Kind of covered it. Hey, 60% of the workforce here, they come from outside the area. But how do you sell that, and how do you ensure that the constituents in the city of Harlingen understand that selling the region is a win for the city of Harlingen?
I think just through action.
Yeah.
We've proven over the past few years that we can cooperate with our neighboring communities in handling prospects. So when a prospect comes in town and they're looking for a specific size building, if that building isn't in Harlingen, we will take them to the surrounding communities and show them what is available, whether it's in Harlingen or not. And we do that because we know that what benefits San Benito benefits Harlingen. What benefits La Feria, what benefits Raymondville, benefits Harlingen as well. So we are a region. We're not one community, one city limit sign, if you will.
Yeah.
So it's easy to do that, and it's easy to sell that because people understand they don't just stay within the city limits. People in general drive to Brownsville, they drive to McAllen, they drive all over the place in the valley to do their business, to see their family. They cross over into Mexico as well because that's where family is.
Yeah. It's a unique culture, and it's very exciting to finally see all of these different leaders, such as yourself, that are saying, "Hey, it's time for us to win together," and it's exciting, right?
Yeah.
Now there's always going to be a competitive edge. Like, well, we want to win a little bit more than you all, right? But that's healthy, right?
Yeah.
It's a healthy thing.
Sure.
Tony Forina is tuned in, and he says, "Morning, Mark and Raudel. Good morning, Mr. Forina." Ernie Alicedas is watching. Thank you for tuning in.
Good morning.
So I think that your background really, some people believe in destiny, some people don't, but your background really placed you here, right? It fits. Yeah, it really did.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about what is going to be our first topic. Let's talk about retail in the city of Harlingen. For a long time, this region, the cities, majority of the cities, they thrive on retail because of our neighbors to the south.
Right.
Harlingen has been able to slowly accelerate their retail. And they've become a leader when it comes to growth in retail sales tax. So talk to us a little bit about Harlingen's retail sector and its journey to get to this point.
Okay.
That'll be 2 hours, right?
we don't want to get that deep into it. But what I can say is that several years ago, and even before I was here, there was an intent to bring some very exclusive, if you will, or one-of-a-kind type of venues into the area. And that was done through, for example, Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
It's the only one in South Texas.
Yeah.
There is no other Bass Pro Shops in South Texas.
Yeah. And there will not be, not for a long time.
There will not be.
Yeah.
And if you look, and if you haven't gone to Bass Pro Shops, you need to go. Because if you're an outdoor enthusiast at all,
yeah,
that's the place to take a look at everything that's on the walls.
Just a cool place to hang out in general,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're not into hunting, go there and try not to get into hunting, right?
You can go fishing.
Yeah.
Some of the boats that are out there are spectacular.
Yeah.
And they finally have gotten to the point to where they understand the South Texas market a little bit better, and they're bringing in products that exclusively for the Gulf waters, if you will, and the flat bottom boats and that type of thing. But attracting Bass Pro Shop really kind of spawned into a series of other retailers that came in because of Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
And really that's been kind of a driving force. Sam's came in not only because the market was growing, but because Bass Pro Shops was here.
Anchor.
Burlington Coat Factory, same thing. They kept saying, yeah, we're looking at the market. It looks good, but... And then once Bass Pro Shops was here, okay, it's time. And we can say that about Kohl's. We can say that about a lot of the other retailers and the restaurants that have come in. It's because Bass Pro Shop is an anchor for them.
Yeah.
We're happy with that. We're happy with the growth that has come on. Some of the companies that have been wanting to locate around Bass Pro Shops and have still come into Harlingen. So that's part of the western side of town that's starting to develop. For example, some of the buildings that are going on over there, and the retailers that are coming in over there, the restaurants that are coming in, because they see Harlingen as a strong market.
Yes.
The growth has been pretty steady, and it can parallel job growth and it can parallel population growth. This year's a little bit extraordinary, and the secret isn't really a secret. It's just that there's other people other than traditional retailers who have an impact on retail sales tax.
The non-traditional.
The construction companies, the business to business, if you will. Some of the companies that sell outside the area but sell taxable goods, and then bring in those monies, and those monies get paid here.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of
a little bit of luck, a little bit of
yeah, and I can't get into the specific companies because then that would be proprietary information. Yes. But I can. But
after we turn off the camera, we can talk about it.
I can tell you that it works. That those companies continue to increase their sales, and those companies continue to bring back that sales tax into the community.
It works. So it's working.
Yeah.
Is there any unique retailers or new retail developments that are coming in 2018 to the city of Harlingen? Anything that you can announce? I'm sure there's great things coming.
There's some more companies that are coming in that have been looking at the valley for multiple locations. Most of that is like any retailer will come in and look at South Texas. They're going to look at two markets first, Brownsville and McAllen, because they're the larger population centers. But if they look for more than two locations, then they start looking at Edinburgh, Mission, McAllen for a second site. because there's north and south.
Yeah.
They look at FAR, they look at Weslaco, and they look at Harlingen, and they look at some points in between sometimes. So if there's multiple type of locations, companies, then Harlingen is usually one of the third, or second or third type of locations for some of these companies.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see a lot of that in 2018. There's companies that have come into the market already that are either in Brownsville or McAllen that are looking for their third or fourth location, and they're starting to look at Harlingen as well.
Yeah, and Harlingen's open for business.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Valle Vista Mall.
Sure.
So when you drive past it, you kind of question, hey, is that mall packed? Is that, how is it doing? Because I know that the mall industry as a whole, people are shopping different. Their
Right.
behaviors are different. So just because that mall may not look as successful as it could, the parking lot's not full, it doesn't mean that in Harlingen retail's not doing well, right? It's just that unique shopping destination isn't. Talk to us a little bit about their...
It kind of depends on what time of the day you go.
Okay.
And what time of the year you go, because most of the retailers have done very well over the Christmas holidays. The mall has been going through some changes over the last few years, but there's some very solid anchor tenants, if you will. Those anchor tenants have been doing very well. We talk to them on a regular basis, to the management there at the mall and to the managers of those particular stores. And they have said, we're doing fine. There's been a lot of rumors about mall closing and that type of thing. Those are rumors, and that's not true. The mall was recently purchased by a new owner. The new owner is looking at aggressively marketing the empty spaces and bringing in new retailers. But malls in general are kind of a dying breed.
Yeah.
So it's tough for them to transform those malls into something that's more of a place, destination place.
Experience.
So they are looking at those kind of experience venues and entertainment venues that can hopefully add more value to them. This particular mall, I think, is going to do fine. Like I said, Dillard's, JCPenney, those are solid anchors.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere right now. They're doing well there. Again, the retail market in Harlingen continues to grow.
Yeah.
And that's because our unemployment rates keep going down, jobs keep getting created, incomes are going up, and therefore you have more spending.
Randy says, great job, Raudel Garza. Thank you, Randy. Can I get a great job, Mark? Okay, so let me see. Let's talk a little bit about the new convention center and hotel. And then we can kind of dip into Cardone Industries and the development there at that industrial park.
The convention center and the hotel are really kind of a city project, but we
like to take credit, right?
We promote. That's what we do. We're marketers.
Of course.
So that's just another arrow in our quiver, if you will, that we're able to show off and say, we have a brand new convention center that's being built. The city is investing over $14 million in this convention center. There's a hotel being developed, Hilton Garden Inn, right next to it by BC Lind, which is a very strong developer out of San Antonio. And it's in a location where things are happening, around the Bass Pro Shop area, around the Sam's Club area. So some new activity is going to be going on and generated there. But that's not the only story. I mean, hospitality in general in Harlingen has been pretty hot. There's 2 other hotels that are under construction in Harlingen. So there's a total of about 300 rooms that are going to be built in the next year or so.
Hospitality.
And, those developers feel that the Harlingen market is strong enough to support what they're looking at. So it's a Fairfield Inn, and then another Homewood Suites is coming in. And those developers are looking into the future and possibly being able to grow beyond those hotels.
That second,
so,
diversify.
So a lot of that, and people say, well, what's happening? And I've asked those hotel developers, okay.
Tell me, please.
I want to make sure that I understand why you're choosing this market. And a lot of it is because SpaceX. There's going to be a bigger demand for more hotel space than what we can support at this moment.
Yes.
Once SpaceX starts launching outside of Boca Chica Beach.
Yeah.
So those are the visionaries are the guys that put their money out and at risk, and that's what I have to do is commend those hotel developers who go out there and say, you know what, we need to build it now because it's going to be so ready once they start doing what they say they're going to do.
So when was the last time you talked to Elon Musk, and when is this happening? Is this happening this year, 2019?
I talked to Elon's representative. Elon.
I talked to Elon's voicemail.
We tweet.
Yeah.
No. There's some folks that work with SpaceX that keep us informed as to what they're doing. They're working on the site. They're getting it ready, and hopefully they will start seeing launches in the very near future. I don't know what the dates are, but in the very near future, we'll start seeing some launches.
I saw an article last week that said Elon Musk is trying to convince the White House that it should be a mission for them to get to Mars, and which is his personal mission.
Right.
And whether any of that is true, it's all hearsay, right? But what we do know is that Elon Musk said that the first spaceship to go to Mars is going to take off from Boca Chica Beach.
Right.
So just that excitement there. And now remind me, rockets are pretty big, right? So you can see them pretty far away, regardless of how.
Sure.
What is the distance? Do you know the view distance? How far you'll be able to see it? I mean,
if you're sitting somewhere in the hotel room in a multi-level hotel at South Padre Island, you'll be able to see that launch.
Wow.
So South Padre Island is going to be a great location to look at
a destination.
At what's happening.
Maybe you get off the cruise ship, right? You get off the cruise ship, and to watch a SpaceX liftoff. Are we cultivating ideas here, or what?
I know a lot of guys who are not going to be bay fishing, but they'll be on the bay watching the launch.
Oh yeah, that brings back the tourism. This new convention center. So convention centers are built most of the time by cities, and they're not a big income generator directly, but indirectly they bring in the hotel occupancy tax. People come to restaurants. Talk to us a little bit about. What the purpose of the convention center are you all looking to bring a specific type of convention in? What kinds of things are going to be attracted there?
Well, most of that marketing is left to CVB, Convention and Visitors Bureau. What I do know is that this particular convention center might be a little bit different in that BC Lynn, the developer, is also a partner in the operations side.
Wow,
okay,
very unique.
So they have a vested interest in making sure that not only is a hotel filled, but that conventions come in and get the hotel convention center gets used.
Yeah.
So what we're going to see is probably some of the mid-sized to smaller conventions. It's not a huge convention center. It's not trying to compete against what South Padre Island and McAllen have already. It's trying to fill a niche.
Yeah.
And I think that some of our nature festivals that we have here, some of the birding festival in particular in November.
Yes.
Some of the other events, some training events that a lot of companies have from time to time. This is going to be a good location because it's centrally located. It's minutes away from the airport. It's got the hotel right next to it. So all that combined with the restaurants that are close by, the Bass Pro Shop and other venues, they're going to be a very good location for them.
And one thing that we have not mentioned that is probably a huge selling point, but we don't appreciate it as much, is the wonderful weather in South Texas.
Yeah.
So that's what you sell first. It's like, look, winter for us is about 60 degrees,
like it is today.
But there's so many other factors. Our nature is something that we don't understand the value of, but the world does. People all over the world, and the city of Harlingen has tapped into the birding festival. And so that's a big anchor there. Cardone Industries. So recently Cardone just made their announcement, and your industrial park is growing.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that. What is Cardone? They're kind of like Bass Pro Shop. They're another anchor in that, but in that industry.
Kind of. Cardone has been around Harlingen for about 11 years. They've been in Matamoros remanufacturing automotive parts for about that same time period. They go back into the 70s when Michael Sr. and Michael Jr. Started the company. So it's a privately held company. It's a family business. It is one of the largest remanufacturing auto parts companies in the world.
Wow. Say it again. In the world.
In the world.
In Harlingen.
So, in Harlingen, yes. They're headquartered in Philadelphia, but they have over 6,000 employees worldwide. And many of them are down here. In Matamoros, there's close to 3,000 employees right now. Harlingen and Brownsville, because there's a facility in Brownsville that handles brake calipers. The facility in Harlingen right now handles most of the other automotive parts. And the two facilities on the U.S. side sort those parts before they get sent back into Matamoros to get remanufactured. Okay, so once they're remanufactured, these boxed products that are ready for the aftermarket, ready to go to AutoZone or some other aftermarket store, or to the dealerships and to directly sometimes to other mechanics, they right now go to either Dallas or Philadelphia for distribution. That wasn't very efficient for Cardone, and so they had a need to do a distribution center close to their manufacturing facility, which is Matamoros. So they looked around at South Texas, they looked in Brownsville and up and down the valley, and decided, because of the availability of land, because of our cooperation with them, our pro-business government that we have, and because of the workforce and experience they've had with us for the last 11 years, that Harlingen was the site for their new facility. Their new facility will be about 920,000 square feet, more or less.
Wow.
So almost 1 million square feet.
Yeah.
There's only one industrial building larger than that in the valley. So it's the second largest industrial building in the valley. And they're in half of the other one that's the largest one. So by the time Cardone finishes this building, they'll have over 2 million square feet of industrial space in Cameron County.
Wow. A big investment.
A very big investment. The building itself is a $50 million investment.
Wow.
The product that goes in there is over in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So.
And the employees in Matamoros, have you ever looked at how many of them live on this side?
Most of them are Mexican nationals, but
Okay.
there are some managers who travel back and forth on a daily basis, but most of them are Mexican nationals. We do have a R&D department here in Harlingen. Their main one's in Philadelphia. Will continue to be in Philadelphia along with their administrative offices, but they will continue to explore other ways of growing the company here locally. They're looking at 515 to 750 employees for this distribution center alone.
Wow.
Which more than doubles and almost triples the existing job base right now on the U.S. side.
And their output.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That is very exciting. And, the niche of Mexico and the United States combination of production, doing certain things on that side and putting them together on this side or vice versa. It's a niche that I think more manufacturing companies around the world are seeing and figuring out. So, what kind of opportunity do you see specifically for Harlingen to advertise that to?
Well, we're trying to reach out to everybody who will listen, and yeah, hello, everybody who listens and says, okay, why did Cardone choose Harlingen? Well, a lot of it has to do because they have a big facility in Matamoros, but it's also because logistically, it's easy access to Matamoros. It's easy access to the rest of the country, so that the product can be shipped out. Yeah. And so we're going after some other logistics companies, some other companies that require being in the right place at the right time. That last mile, if you will, for delivery.
Yeah.
We talked about how retail is changing. So a lot of retail is being sold now in warehouses versus being sold in stores.
Correct, yeah. No inventory being held anymore.
Yeah. And so we have enough land at the industrial park and in the Harlingen Aerotropolis, which we'll talk about, I think, later on.
Yes.
To accommodate those needs. I mean, we have over 500 acres still of developed, ready to be built on land.
Wow, 500 acres.
Yeah.
That sounds like a headline right there. 500 acres in Harlingen, ready for development.
Absolutely.
The airport, Valley International Airport. Let's talk about that. That is huge, and people from across the valley. I mean, if you're flying Southwest Airlines, there's only one way to go, right?
That's through Harlingen.
Exactly.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about the airport and how it's been an asset to the city.
Well, I mean, a long time ago, people made the decision to go after Southwest and make sure that Southwest came to Harlingen, and Southwest has been a blessing for Harlingen. They drive a lot of traffic into Harlingen, and a lot of companies will base their location decisions on where the airport is located. This particular airport has the longer runways, 8,200 linear feet, so they can bring in the bigger planes. We have DHL and FedEx both flying into Harlingen and handling air cargo. Of course, Southwest does air cargo as well. Some of the airlines that are moving passengers include, of course, Southwest and United, but Sun Country has direct flights from Minneapolis-St. Paul. It's on a seasonal basis. They left for a little bit, but then they decided, this is too strong a market, especially when others started flying that route.
Yeah.
And so they came back and started flying that route. And so we're trying to grow the passenger business. Marv Esterly is out there handling the airport, and he does a great job. And so he can probably tell you a lot more about what's going on there, but I can tell you that FedEx, for example, has increased their flights and is doing more air cargo out of Harlingen because it's a good location for us.
Transportation as a whole is changing drastically, and I think that we're going to see, specifically Elon Musk, right? He's focused on this new transportation game. I mean, he's talking about hyperloops, etc. But what we do know is that the way that people are transported is changing. And for us to be able to be part of that and say, how can we design this and how can we make this best for our passengers, for commercial business, it's really exciting. Yeah. Maybe not for everyone watching, but it gets me excited. I don't know about you.
Yeah. The Aerotropolis, which is really kind of a concept of having a place where you can do business and fly in and out easily, is something that the Valley International folks have been working for a while. Yeah. On the east side of the airport, like I said, there's about 480 acres of land that's ready to be built on. They started with one cargo building that has an apron that leads directly to the runways. Okay, so you can get a plane next to a building to where it goes. The product goes basically from a truck to the plane almost instantaneously. So that's kind of the concept, is to try to expand that kind of business. There's been some talk about bringing in a little bit more mixed-use development on the east side of the airport, to where there'd be some office space and maybe some retail space and even some residential space to go along with that. The world is changing.
Yeah.
And so some people...
And we have to be ready.
And people who travel all over like to live close to airports.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. Growing up, I used to always ride my bike next to the airport because I used to love to watch the planes take off, But I don't know about living, so close to an airport. Now it's kind of scary, right? We talked a little bit about, the educational systems here in Harlingen at the beginning of the conversation. But let's talk a little bit about workforce development.
Sure.
It's a huge... some people say it's an issue. I see it as an opportunity for this region, because when you're at the bottom, there's only one way to look, right? Going up, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about this workforce development and how you all are helping to push that. There's been some partnerships with TSTC.
Sure. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Aside from this $5 million investment that the city made in terms of higher education. We work with TSTC and our large companies and smaller businesses as well on doing different training programs. So one of the things that we've been working on is, for example, making sure that people are certified for construction trades and for welding. Truck drivers have been a big focus for us because there's such a high demand for that. We were able to, and FedEx won't say it, but we were able to convince them to contribute $10,000 towards a truck driving school program here at TSTC.
Thank you, FedEx.
Yeah. So we've had some of the private sector investing in the training here locally. We're going to continue to work with Texas Workforce Commission, trying to tap into their skills development fund for some of our growing companies. Cardone would be one of those. But we've been growing different companies, and they're all looking to upgrade the skills of their employees, existing employees, and also for their new hires.
Yes.
So we have good relationships with that. And even going down into the high school level, we work with the early college high school here, with UT RGV, and the School of Medicine here in Harlingen. It is in 2 locations.
Yes.
We've been working with...
it's in both locations.
We can go back to that in a
Yeah,
minute.
we will. That's another hot...
Dr. Cavazos has been... Art Cavazos, the superintendent, has been working really well with us in trying to make sure that, the different academies that they've set up, for example, that they don't leave behind the technical trades. And so they're working on some programs that will bring in some of those things back into the front and center.
Yes.
With LNG, with the Cardone companies coming in, some of the power plants that have talked about building here locally, there's going to be a need for more of those pipe fitters, welders, scaffolding, and construction trade guys. And so the high school has some of the introductory NCCER certification programs and courses. And that leads back into what TSTC is doing. And so we participate with TSTC to actually help fund some of those programs.
It's like connecting that bridge from high school to further education to be more specific in subject matter. We did a live stream with Dr. Cavazos in 2017, and his focus and passion on taking the young students to another level. I mean, it's really inspiring, and seeing you at the higher level saying, hey, we need to focus on whether it's UTRGV, TSTC, the UTRGV Medical School, whatever it is, we need to focus on growing this. And it only works when all of the parts work together. And the hope is that, if you focus on this workforce from an early age and you develop it properly, by the time you get to this level, you're ready, right? You're not behind anymore.
That's right.
But by that time, we'll be focused on, we need more computer coders, and we need,
Software development engineers are going to be big.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you think about Amazon, for example, and everything that Amazon is doing, Amazon hires software development engineers to do a lot more than what people realize.
Yeah.
They're not just a warehouse with a bunch of boxes and product being shipped out. They're a lot more than that. And so
they are like mind readers.
Yeah.
It's like a very logistical, they're very focused on data, and everything that they do, it's based on data. Every decision that they, if a product pops up on Amazon in front of your screen, it's because you liked it subconsciously, or you were on another website, or, they're better than Santa. They know exactly what everyone wants.
There's technology that can follow you around now. If you start looking at a certain website, they'll follow you.
Geofencing is very scary these days.
Right.
But it can work if you know how to use it properly, right?
We're going to be using it this year as part of our marketing.
Really?
Actually.
It's a great way to strategically target your audience, right?
So when we go to trade shows, for example, and we invite people to our booth, and they actually will log in or take a look at something on our booth, we'll geofence that area. And
wow,
chase them.
We're chasing these people in Kansas City right now. We're getting them to move to Harlingen, Texas.
Sure,
no, but no, it's true. That's how you begin the branding phases, you know. And you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? You got to try it.
That's right.
So LNG is kind of another. It's another thing that could turn into a huge asset to this area, but there's also huge opposition to it.
Right.
But I see LNG similar to SpaceX in the sense of how massive it can be in jobs,
right.
et cetera. But if LNG, is at the port of Brownsville, how does Harlingen benefit from that? How does Harlingen make that work?
Yeah. A lot of that is the employees that are working at those construction sites don't all live in Brownsville.
Yeah.
They don't all live in, Port Isabel or Laguna Vista. A lot of them are going to be from the San Benito, Harlingen, La Feria area. And so that's how some of those workers will benefit, is because they're willing to travel those 45 minutes to go to those sites, put in a day's work, and then come back home.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it, but I mean, obviously there's travel related for those executives who are running those LNG plants, and they may choose the Harlingen Airport or they may choose the Brownsville Airport, but either way, the area benefits.
Yeah.
The consumables that the companies use will all be sourced, hopefully, locally, and so that means that anybody and everybody in the valley has a chance to provide services for these construction sites.
The private sector. Yeah.
And so hopefully that will benefit everybody as well. People talk about the opposition to LNG, and I don't really want to get into a debate about that, but I can
next live stream.
I can tell you that there's a smart way to grow.
Yes.
And hopefully they're doing that.
Yeah.
We always have to make sure that we take care of our environment, that we leave our place a little bit better than what it was when we found it.
Yeah.
That's a responsibility that I think that a lot of us share. What we do is trying to make our world a better place, and it's not easy given the challenges and obstacles that we have from time to time, but in economic development, we have an opportunity to touch on a lot of that, to improve people's lives by attracting a company that otherwise wouldn't come in. And that's really where the incentives come in, is would this company have come in if they didn't even look at us until we went out to that trade show or conference where that site selector was, and then we actually gave them a proposal to abate their taxes for a certain length of time. If they hadn't done that, then would they even be looking at us? And would we have the opportunity to allow 515 new employees to have a way of life? Now, not all of them are going to be paying, $15, $20 an hour, but some of them will.
Yeah.
And so everybody has an opportunity to improve themselves.
Yeah.
And then we have to work that into the educational system so that people can get educated and then continue their education to get a better job later on.
Yeah.
So as economic development guys, we have an opportunity to do that. We have a responsibility to do it right. I've been doing it on and off for 25 years, and we don't do it because of the limelight. We don't do it because of, anything other than our love for our community and making sure that our people living here have the right skills to improve themselves.
Yeah.
And so we go work with the school districts and the universities. We go work with the politicians to make sure that the policies that are passed are such that will benefit us here.
Yeah.
So
it all comes back to quality of life. You're trying to improve the quality of life at all aspects. Yeah. And, one thing about life is that it's not as easy as it seems. It's kind of complicated sometimes,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But having these conversations and sitting down and saying, look, the subject is LNG. Let's talk about it, have a healthy discussion, and not have a set attitude already coming forward. You have to be open to compromise. One of the examples, my great-grandparents, they were married 67 years. And one thing I learned from them was, show me a partnership that doesn't compromise. It won't last.
That's right.
It doesn't work. So compromise has to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So thank you for having that, that balance and understanding that you have to be patient with people sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Especially looking at the big picture.
Sure. Sure.
Let's talk about transportation now. You know, there is 3 MPOs. You know, you can already see the grin. You know, there's 3 MPOs. We've heard this conversation already. You know, the 3 MPOs, Brownsville, Harlingen, San Benito, and Hidalgo County. And the deal is they should merge, right? Everyone's saying, hey, merge.
Right.
When you add all the money together, you'll get more money.
Right.
The issue has always been, well, these are like 3 different countries. In some ways, you know, when
Sure.
you're looking at it that way. And this is not a new conversation. It's been around for a long time.
Right.
But we're finally getting to a point in population size and connectivity to where we have to start looking at this conversation. So give us your take on it. You know, at the end of the day, it's not about being political. It's about what would merging these 3 MPOs do, and operating separately, how do they work?
Yeah, again, it goes back to smart growth. You know, as the population grows here, as we get more and more cars on the roads, then it becomes more and more of an issue to make sure that our infrastructure keeps up with the growth. I remember 25 years ago, we were putting together a group that was pushing for an interstate highway, and it's probably been pushing for interstate highways since interstate highways began. And so now we have, you know, 2 interstate highways in the valley, and that's a blessing, but they're still not complete because they're not connected to the rest of the interstate system yet. So there's some things that need to happen on US 77, some things that need to happen on US 281 that MPOs and other groups all look at, and we promote that. I sit on the board of the I-69 Texas Alliance, and so we're promoting connecting the valley to the rest of the country in terms of interstate status. In terms of transportation dollars, we all need more.
Yeah. Say that again.
Yeah, we all need more. And merging the 3 MPOs into one, people have said, will give us an opportunity to earn more of that, or to gain more of that dollars that are up in Austin and in Washington.
And because the funding mechanism is based on population, correct?
You're right. So if there is and this is, I think, Harlingen's position, and I'm not the spokesman for Harlingen, but from what I understand and gather, if there is a way to do that where people do not get harmed beyond what, you know, so they can get what they're getting now, and then hopefully get a share of the new dollars, then we should do it.
Yeah.
But if you are the smaller of the entities and you're thinking, okay, if I do this and then I have 1 less control and 2 less monies, why would I do that?
Yeah.
That's the issue. And so if the bigger community and the bigger MPO can figure that out so that the smaller ones can feel more comfortable, then there shouldn't be any reason why it can't get done.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
It really is. So make sure that everybody plays fair. Everybody plays by rules that don't get changed, because one side of the valley is bigger than the other side of the valley, and then things will work.
Yeah. It takes leadership to just sit down and work together.
And it's a lot of trust.
It is, right?
That's a big word.
Trust.
So
trust. Word of the day. Trust. Okay, so I guess let's talk a little bit about right now, Cameron County Regional Mobility Authority and the Hidalgo County Mobility Authority they're working on that east-west route from McAllen to a secondary causeway at South Padre Island, and that would cross over to I-69 east, just north of Harlingen. That project, and you know, these projects, they're given dates or some of, you know, estimated dates, and sometimes they happen, sometimes they're extended. But when this does happen, or if this does happen, what are you seeing for Harlingen?
Well, I think for Harlingen and the Valley is that there's a new way to get around the Valley.
Right.
There's a new opportunity to promote additional properties for the real estate guys out there.
Yeah.
And that's what they'll be doing. But I think in general, and I drive I-2 every day, come back and forth from McAllen to Harlingen. In general, there needs to be an alternative route, and Military Highway is one of those routes, and there's some improvements going on in Hidalgo County that will help the traffic flow between the bridges. But there needs to be more of an option in terms of getting off the island. That's always been a big push in the causeway. And then once you get off the island, how to get around the valley. And so this East-West Corridor that will extend basically from around the Holly Beach area back to north of Harlingen and then into Edinburgh, that's going to be important for everybody. And everybody needs to understand that if you are going to continue to grow, and there's nothing that says that we're not, just natural birth rate alone is going to take care of that.
Arithmetic.
Then we need to make sure that we prepare for that.
Yes.
And so why not start investing in those studies that make this something that can actually happen in the future?
Yeah. If you go to State Representative Armando Martinez's office, he's got maps all over, and this is where this route will be, and we're going to connect here and there. And it's really exciting because, you take a look at, cities like San Antonio that have, the transportation infrastructure for people to flow, not only from a consumer standpoint, but from a commercial standpoint.
Sure. And
we have two huge opportunities, specifically on the commercial side, because we have a big commercial partner south of us, which we need to talk about, trade with Mexico soon, save the best for last. But also just the pedestrian transportation infrastructure. And are people going to travel in vehicles in the future?
Yeah.
Is there rail? What other opportunities are there for transportation? So that's, very exciting. And, I speak at schools a lot, and I tell students, you guys need to get involved. You need to be part of this. You need to educate yourself and figure out what kind of community, what kind of world do you want to live in, because all of these decisions are being made right now.
That's right.
So it's very, very, very exciting. So trade with Mexico, a lot of the other cities, we've talked about that non-traditional retail sales tax that the city of Harlingen has benefited from. A lot of the other cities have really focused on retail, and they benefit specifically from the Mexican foreign shoppers that come over. Right. Because of multiple reasons, from the peso devaluation to some, rhetoric coming from Washington, D.C., there has been, and violence.
Sure.
And violence, there has been a decline in people crossing over. And Harlingen, when it comes to sales tax growth, you guys are up 6.4%, South Padre Island 5.4%, San Benito 4.5%, Donna 2.6%, and Wesco 2.3%. You didn't hear any of the big names like the city of McAllen that are normally, when it comes to growth, retail sales tax is always their anchor.
Right.
Now it's not. So with all of this, things happening in Mexico, how has Harlingen been able to not be affected? I mean, you guys didn't depend on it before too much, but it's not hurting you now.
Well, it depends on what the store is.
Okay.
There have been some stores who have closed down because they were impacted by the Mexican consumer. And Harlingen on the weekends does have its share of Mexican consumers. You can ask the hotel guys.
Yeah.
And so they lost a little bit of their traffic, if you will, on the weekends. I think what sets us apart is that there have been a lot of those non-traditional retail avenues that have been expanded.
Yeah.
However, as time goes, and this is just a bump on the road, as time goes, things will improve with Mexico, and those consumers are going to be coming back.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are going to be traveling through Los Indios Bridge. Some of them travel through some of the other bridges out there.
Yeah.
There's 13 crossings in the valley, so
yeah.
There's a lot of options for them. I think that retail, as we know, has already changed.
Yes.
And will continue to change. And Mexican consumers are just as savvy as Americans in terms of getting on eBay and Amazon and ordering off online.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is for the big box and the traditional retailers to be able to offset some of that through experiences, if you will. And so that's what we're seeing with the new retail is, you can look at it online, but you can feel it and touch it in person.
And some people are not, we talked about that big word, trust. Yeah. Some people still don't trust retail online sales, buying something online, specifically with clothing. And, most of your shoppers from Mexico, they buy clothing. So there's some things to build on, right?
Right.
You talked about Los Indios, the international bridge, and that is, owned by the city of Harlingen, San Benito, and Cameron County.
Right.
Bridges, most cities, if you go throughout Texas, it's been a long conversation, right? Yeah. Is there any coffee, please?
You still
no, thank you everyone for keeping up with us. Oh, there's a question. Carrie de la Fuente, is there a deal in place to hire residents from Harlingen? Carrie, I don't know what that question was specific for. I don't know if it was for which business. Go ahead and comment back and we will answer that. But one thing for sure is, what were we saying earlier? Harlingen's open for business, for all business, right? We need to get that over there. Here, we'll wait for her to jump back on here. But when it comes to cities in the state of Texas, most cities don't have assets like international bridges because they're not on
the border.
Correct.
Right.
And when I say that this bridge is an asset, the city makes money if run properly.
and Harlingen, San Benito, and the Cameron County have positive cash flow from Los Indios Bridge.
So talk to us a little bit about the bridge. And how the city of Harlingen, with the help of your two other partners, are focusing on growing that traffic.
Well, one of the things that we've started several months ago and have continued to work on and are almost done with is we worked with GSA and other federal agencies, CBP, to allow us to build, and us being the three entities, the Cameron County, San Benito, and Harlingen, to build a cold storage inspection facility on their docks. And so basically we're taking their open dock and putting walls and a big cooler on top of it, so that at least 3 trucks can back up into those facilities and not lose any shelf life, if you will, in their refrigerated product.
Yes.
So the refrigerated product can go into this cold storage facility while the customs guys are inspecting the vehicles. And
fast time,
and so if you come in the middle of summer and you've got frozen strawberries, it's very important to not let them sit out in the sun for a long time or out in the heat for a long time. And so Los Indios didn't have that opportunity before. Now, starting hopefully in February, we'll have that opportunity to offer that kind of service, if you will, to the shippers. Is your product can be protected if your truck gets pulled over for secondary inspection. Then you can back up that truck into that cold storage facility, unload that truck, and not worry about the product because it's going to be in a climate-controlled environment.
And so that's an investment you all are making to bring more traffic and convenience.
Right. So that's part of bringing in the commercial traffic.
Yes.
So if you can bring in the commercial traffic northbound, then southbound, which is where we make the money, those trucks have to go back into Mexico.
They're going to come back.
So they're going to have to come back.
Yes.
And so that was about a $500,000 investment from all 3 entities. Okay, so that's something that will be finalized hopefully in the next month or so, and then they'll be able to offer that service for trucks and for shippers that are dealing with climate controlled environments and making sure that their product doesn't lose any shelf life.
Yeah.
Yes, we're targeting vegetable and fruit growers that are shipping from Mexico into the United States, and we're not trying to compete against other ports of entries. We just want to give another option and make sure that the amenities that Los Indios offers are up to par with other crossings. Aside from that, there's a big marketing push that will be kind of coordinated amongst the three entities. And that's something that hadn't happened in the past. Actually, we're talking to Brownsville as well to make sure that the Cameron County bridges as a whole, because Cameron County bridge system controls most of those crossings, that those crossings get marketed properly.
Yeah.
And so the county judge and other folks are working to make sure that they're a part of that, and they continue to pursue that with us.
There's a lot of opportunity, and you said that you all are not trying to compete with any other ports of entry. But when you think about the traffic, the amount of produce coming from the south,
Sure.
and the amount of bridges, and the amount of time in a day, and how many need to cross every day, I mean, it's just simple math.
It makes sense.
You have to have many bridges, and
Sure.
there's room in business for everyone. In fact, there might be room for another bridge, right?
Absolutely.
That might pop up soon.
Sure. Yeah.
So when you think about it that way, it's a benefit for the entire region.
Right.
Now, what about the transportation infrastructure after they cross?
Sure.
Going forward, how do they get out?
Well, at the Los Indios crossing, they travel north on 509, which is a very strong state highway system. And within 7 miles, they're already at Interstate 2, and then from there they can hang a right and go towards the Port of Brownsville or Brownsville, and they can hang a left and go towards western Hidalgo County and the valley and whatnot, or they can keep going straight and go into our industrial park. And our industrial park is just 6 miles away from that point.
Yeah.
And then eventually, once we get that EastWest Corridor that connects to the island, they'll be able to connect to that corridor and then head up north on I-69. So
wow. The master plan's coming together.
Yeah.
The master plan is coming together. Well, let's see. Jose Sandoval said, "Did I hear 3 trucks at a time? The FAR International Bridge has like 60 docks, and it is still not enough." Jose, we agree with you.
Yeah, no, this is 3 trucks that can be offloaded at the same time into a cold storage environment.
Okay.
We haven't done this before in Cameron County at the Los Angeles Bridge, and so it doesn't make sense to build
the masses.
A massive cold storage facility without it being a proven environment. So this is a good way to get started on it. It can handle some traffic. Not all the trucks get pulled over, and so they don't all get pulled over into secondary inspection.
Yeah, so it's the random luck of the draw. Well, overall, Harlingen, specifically the Economic Development Corporation, you all have had a busy 2017.
Sure.
2018, I'm sure is full of a lot of opportunity, and you're looking to conquer everything that you face. Anything new that you want to share for the viewers to look forward to in 2018, or anything that you want to share that we maybe didn't cover?
I think you're going to see a lot more activity on the industrial side in terms of construction. We really don't have any space left in Harlingen. There's a few buildings where we have a little bit of space left over, but in the grand scheme of things, we need more space.
Yeah.
So we need more investors to come in and build on the 500 or so acres or more that we have available. Some of it is city-owned, but not all of it is. And obviously, we're going to start seeing more of that kind of thing, more construction in the industrial side. And then that leads to more jobs, and hopefully that leads to more spending, which means more restaurants and better quality of life for everybody.
Overall, which means mission accomplished for you, right?
That's what we hope to do, is to make sure that people who want to work have a job waiting for them.
Yeah.
So,
well, Raudel, thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
To everyone, I think the highlight of this was 500 acres ready to be developed in the city of Harlingen.
Right.
And that's what I took away from this whole conversation, right?
Yeah.
So
we're in marketing, so we're trying to sell that.
There we go, 500 acres. Call us now.
Yeah. Great location.
So thank you everyone for tuning in. These conversations are all about educating the community, putting ideas on the table, and moving together as one unit. So thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. And until next time, thank you for your time.
Thank you.